It is the day of Indira Ekadashi, so very, very powerful day, the holy days of Ekadashi Tithi. And what could be more auspicious than to come together in the association of devotees like all of you, and to remember Krishna through the chanting of the holy names and through hearing about Bhagavad Gita. So for those who are in a position to turn on their cameras, that's highly encouraged. So if possible, so you can turn on your cameras. So Manjulali is going to do kirtan for next about 7-8 minutes, and then His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu is going to join very soon, and then we will have a wonderful class about the summary of chapters 1 to 6, which we have covered in the past sessions. So thank you, all of you, again for taking out your valuable time on this special day of Indira Ekadashi. The voice audible, is everything okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we'll get started here.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samhita Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shundavadi Paschata Deshatayane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauri Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath,
Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Vrindavan Bihari, Radha Vrindavan Bihari, Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Vrindavan Vihari Radha Vrindavan Vihari Shri Radhe.
Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva.
Jaya Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Srila Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Ram Sankirtana Yagya ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Samavita Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna, thank you again for taking out your valuable time and give your wonderful association. I see some of you have turned your cameras on, so I'm very grateful to all of you. But about 80% of the devotees still have the cameras off. So it's a humble request. It helps us to be more focused in our hearing, and it also helps the speaker to be more inspired in speaking. And when we make future requests, the speaker will be inspired to come also. So please keep that in mind. It's not easy to get the association of such advanced souls, who His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, who should be joining us at any moment now. So Prabhu should be joining any moment. So I'll do a brief background about His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. So His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he is the Associate Dean of the Bhaktivedanta Academy, Bhaktivedanta Vidyapith Research Center at Govardhan Eco Village. He is the member of ISKCON Board of Examinations and the GEV, the Govardhan Eco Village Administrative Council. He holds a master's degree from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, which we all know is a very, very prestigious institute. He teaches Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other Vaishnava character courses at the Vidyapith, located at Govardhan Eco Village. So for those who have not been, I would highly recommend, whenever circumstances and allow, and whenever your situations allow, so you should keep that in your bucket list, to go to Govardhan Eco Village, which is the outskirts, about 2 hours north of the central Mumbai area, and you will not regret it. Rather, you will simply fall in love with it. But beware, you may not want to come back. So go with the caution, because it's like Vrindavan and it's so amazing. So Prabhuji travels all over the places in India, and now with this COVID, he's actually giving classes all over the globe, in all the continents, in all the countries and cities. So we are in Krishna Prabhuji, Chakalpatirupyascha Kripa Sindhuke Chapatitaya Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. So Prabhuji, thank you so much for your association. I was just going through a quick background. And Prabhuji has also written amazing books like Gita Subodhini, Bhagavad Subodhini, Chaitanya Subodhini, in multiple volumes, disapproved but not disowned. And personally, I'm a big fan of Prabhuji and try to read all of his books. And in our Bhagavad reading also, we refer the Bhagavad Subodhini. So currently we are at the 9th canto. So we refer these books for other notes and to share understand the Bhagavad in simple way, through analogies, through diagrams, through understanding like a bird's eye view. So Prabhuji is especially known for his giving the complex thing in a simple way. So I was thinking, when we have completed the 31 sessions of Bhagavad Gita, who could be a better person than His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu to give an essence of the first 6 chapters. So we are very, very grateful to you, Prabhuji, for accepting our kind invitation. And Prabhuji has a website also, which Sumit Prabhu can post in the Zoom chat, and his YouTube, and so you can subscribe to those and refer to those websites. And there is also a magazine, free online magazine published by Govardhan Eco Village, so you can also subscribe to that and be aware of all the wonderful activities, events which happen at Govardhan Eco Village, and which Prabhuji is an integral part of. So I humbly request everyone to please let's welcome His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu with all our heart, with garland of gratitude, by 3 times loudly chanting Hari Bol. Prabhu, thank you so much again. Please, over to you, Prabhuji, for enlightening us.
Thank you, Shubhavilas Govind Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. I was asked to give a quick summary of the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So in the next 1 hour, I will try to do my best to cover the major shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, first 6 chapters, and give an outline of these 6 chapters. I hope you're able to see the screen. So entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita has 700 shlokas divided into 18 chapters, and the first 6 chapters predominantly talk about Karma Yoga, and the last 6 chapters predominantly talk about Jnana Yoga, and the middle 6 chapters, which are talking about Bhakti Yoga, are considered the essence and very confidential part of Bhagavad Gita. While the entire Bhagavad Gita is compared with a jewel box, the first 6 chapters are like the lower lid of the box, and the last 6 chapters are like the upper lid of the box, and the most precious jewel inside the box is Bhakti Yoga. And Bhagavad Gita covers these 5 topics about Jiva, Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Jiva, who am I? Ishvara, who is God? Prakriti, what is this world? What is this universe around me? Kala, what is this time factor that constantly influences me? And Karma, how to act, and what is the reaction for my action? So how am I caught up in this whole chain of actions and reactions? So these are the 5 universally relevant topics that Krishna discusses in the Bhagavad Gita. So these 5 topics that Krishna talks in Bhagavad Gita are not related to one sect or one kind of religion or some section of the society. So these topics are relevant for everyone. So let's see. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled Observing the Armies, Arjuna expresses his doubts. And this chapter begins with Dhritarashtra's inquiry to Sanjaya, his minister. Dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta Mamakah Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dharmakshetre kurukshetre, in the religious place, in the holy place of Kurukshetra, my sons and the sons of Pandu have been assembled, and after having assembled there with a spirit to fight with each other, what did they do? This is Dhritarashtra's inquiry. So after assembling on a battlefield to fight with each other, what will they do? They will fight. But still, Dhritarashtra asks this question, and this is not exactly a redundant question, it's a relevant question. Why? Because Dhritarashtra was very greedy for the kingdom. He wanted his own sons to enjoy the kingdom of Hastinapur and he did not want to give the rightful share of Pandavas to them. So Dhritarashtra was hoping that under the influence of this holy place, let Pandavas compromise and let Pandavas decide not to fight in the war, and let them give this whole kingdom to my own sons. And under the influence of this holy place of Kurukshetra, let my own sons not compromise. Okay, by the influence of this holy place, maybe my son Duryodhan will feel some inspiration to give the rightful share of Pandavas to them. So that should not happen. Let them compromise, not me, not my sons. So out of this fear and selfishness and hope, and he was also very doubtful about the victory of his own sons. So all these fears and doubts and hopes and greed in Dhritarashtra was making him ask this question. Then Sanjaya, who had the ability to visualize what's happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and narrate the whole thing to Dhritarashtra, he started speaking. He explained what happened in the Kurukshetra war. He said, "This your son Duryodhana, he went to Dronacharya and started speaking." So this Duryodhan went to Dronacharya and started comparing the armies of Pandavas and his own self. So these are the prominent warriors in my army, and these are the prominent warriors in the army of Pandavas, and my army is led by the most experienced military general Bhishma Dev, and Pandavas army is led by a less experienced military general Bhima. So I have more scope for victory. But still, by expressing such a confidence in front of Dronacharya, Duryodhan was also expressing some fear that, oh, Pandavas, although they were living for the last 13 years in the forests, still they managed to generate so many Akshohinis of armies, and they were standing right in front of me now. She was a bit surprised to see the military strength of Pandavas. At the same time, he was expressing some false confidence in front of Dronacharya. And he was also saying, Dronacharya, indirectly, he was saying, Dronacharya, you are very affectionate towards your disciples, Pandavas, and especially Arjuna. And I don't expect you to be partial towards them. You have to fight with your full strength. And Bhishma is there, of course, great general, but Bhishma should be given protection by all of you. So like that, Duryodhana expressed his fears indirectly and diplomacy directly, and somehow described both the armies. Then Krishna and Arjuna came forward and they started blowing their conch shells. So this, and Pandavas also blew their conch shells, right? So Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya, and Arjuna's conch shell was called Devadatta. So like that, Krishna and Arjuna started blowing their conch shells, and the remaining Pandavas also blew their conch shells, and Bhishma also blew his conch shell, right? When these conch shells were blowing, actually first Bhishma blows the conch shell, then after that Pandavas. So when these conch shells were blowing, the conch shells blown by the Pandavas shattered the hearts of all the Kauravas, Duryodhana and party. But when Duryodhana and party, when they blew their conch shells, nothing has happened to the Pandavas side, because Krishna is there on their side. And in fact, this blowing of conch shell is done just before worship of Lord Vishnu, worship of Lord Krishna. So Bhishma's blowing of this conch shell in this battle is his beginning of the worship of Lord Krishna, because Bhishma is fighting on behalf of Duryodhan against the Pandavas under the will of the Lord. Bhishma is a noble person, but still he was obliged to do so because Krishna wanted to give a very, very grave message to the entire humanity. And what was that message? Krishna wants to prove that however powerful a person may be, if he stands on the side of adharma and fights against dharma, then he cannot be victorious. Even if he's as powerful as Bhishma, still he has to be defeated because he's standing on the side of adharma. Just to help Krishna establish this great message, this Bhishma is participating in this war on the side of Duryodhana. Then Arjuna said, Krishna, please take my chariot in the middle of both the armies so that I can see who all have assembled on this battle. Arjuna knows. Arjuna very well knows who has assembled on the battlefield. But still, although it was his right to fight, still he did not know whether it is right to fight. Okay. So Arjuna was still doubtful. He was still confused. He was not very confident. Till now, he showed some confidence, but now he was a bit confused. So then Krishna took the chariot in the middle of both the armies because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He was playing the role of a chariot driver for his dear devotee Arjuna. So when Arjuna told Krishna to take the chariot between the two armies, Krishna did so, and Arjuna was overwhelmed with emotions after seeing his own relatives with a fighting spirit on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he said that, my dear Krishna, I cannot fight. So he gave 4 reasons why he cannot fight. One is that he was overwhelmed with compassion for his relatives, and that compassion is visibly seen in his bodily symptoms, right? His hand is unable to hold the bow, Gandiva. It was slipping off. He's unable to hold his arrows. His lips were quivering. His body is trembling. His bodily hairs were standing, not out of ecstasy, but out of confusion, out of bewilderment, right? Out of anxiety. So like that, he was exhibiting all kinds of bodily symptoms out of compassion for his relatives. Secondly, he said that I cannot see any enjoyment even if I become victorious on this battlefield. So we enjoy with our relatives. And if we kill my relatives in this battle, how can I enjoy? I cannot enjoy. So he was a bit unsure whether he should fight or not, because he was thinking that there will be no enjoyment without relatives. Prabhupada says that people may have many enjoyable objects, but the enjoyment not only comes from those enjoyable objects, that enjoyment also comes when they exhibit that enjoying spirit in front of some people. Other people should clap. They should say, oh, he is such a wealthy person, he is a very opulent person, he is living life royally. So that gives some kind of mental, emotional satisfaction also to people. That's why Arjuna says there will be no enjoyment even in victory. And thirdly, Arjuna felt fearful of sinful reactions. So many soldiers have assembled on the battlefield. If so many people are killed, we will incur sin. And not only that, we are going to kill our own relatives like Bhishma, Drona, my brothers, my fathers, and my grandfathers, and my sons, grandsons. All of them have assembled on this battlefield. If we kill, we will incur sin. Fourthly, Arjuna says that if so many people are killed on the battlefield, then what will happen to their families? When the elders in the family die, the younger generation will not have the right kind of guidance to live in life. So then unnecessarily innocent women in the families will be polluted, and also children will be misguided, and family traditions and community projects cannot run smoothly without the guidance of elders. So I cannot fight. Govinda, I shall not fight. So Arjuna just left aside his arrows and bow, and he had tears in his eyes. So that concludes the first chapter. In the beginning of the second chapter, out of his confusion, Arjuna takes a decision in this indecision. He was very indecisive. In this indecisive state, he takes a decision to surrender to Krishna. So when we are in confusions, we should take shelter of a guru. So when Arjuna was in deep confusion in performing his duty, he took shelter of Krishna. He says, Karpanya doshopahata svabhavah prachami tvam dharma sammudha chetah yah shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitanme sishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam Karpanya doshopahata svabhavah. So Arjuna says that, oh Lord, because of this miserly weakness of heart, I am unable to decide what to do in life. And Prichamitvam dharma sammodha chetah. I am asking you in this in this predicament, right? I'm confused about my duty. Dharma sammodha chetaha means I'm confused in the execution of my duty as a kshatriya. So in such a confused state of mind, I'm taking your shelter. Pruchhami tvam, I'm asking you direction. Yah shreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me. So tell me for certain what is good for me. Sishyaste ham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I'm accepting you as my guru. You accept me as your disciple. No more friendly talks. Earlier, Arjuna and Krishna were friends. On the battlefield, when they came there, Krishna became the chariot driver and Arjuna became the warrior. And now that relationship is also gone. Arjuna became disciple, Krishna became the spiritual master. So then Krishna starts speaking to Arjuna. Krishna says, first set of teachings that Krishna gives is on the soul. So Arjuna, you are so overwhelmed with compassion. Compassion is not meant for the body. Real compassion is compassion on a spiritual plane for the soul. The soul, which is supposed to be serving Krishna and loving Krishna, is entangled in a material body, experiencing material happiness and distress. So you need to be compassionate on the soul, not on the body. So Prabhupada gives this example. Nobody should be so concerned about the dress of a drowning person. You should save the person, not the dress. So just like dress covers the body is a dress that covers the soul. Compassion is meant for the person, the soul within, and not the body. So Krishna gives his first set of teachings on Dhyana or Sankhya, which is basically the analysis of body and soul. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara prapter dhiras tatra na muhyati. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara. Even within one body also, the soul passes through different phases of the body. Right? Initially, the body is very small in childhood, infancy, childhood, boyhood, youthhood, then middle age, old age, and death. So like that, even within one lifetime also, the soul is passing through different bodies of different ages. So similarly, at the time of death, the soul leaves one body and goes to another body. So Arjuna, although you are killing so many people, you are only killing their bodies. You cannot kill the person within. You cannot kill the soul. And Arjuna may say, oh, I am attached to their bodies because through their bodies only I am able to connect with them. I am identifying this Bhishma and Drona as my guru or grandfather through their bodies. Right? Although after their death, they may be safe, I cannot interact with them through these bodies. So then Krishna says you have to tolerate that. Learn to tolerate it. Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agamapayino nityaha tamstitikshasva bharata. He says that this happiness and distress, heat and cold, they arise due to sense perception, and these temporary dualities have no permanent effect. We should learn to tolerate them. Tolerate and proceed. So you may come in contact with some people, you may get separated from them. So you should tolerate that. So Krishna gives the teachings of tolerance. And if you can tolerate, then you are eligible for liberation. Yam hinam vyathayantyete purusham purushashabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram somrutatvaya kalpati. One who learns to maintain tolerance and equanimity in the midst of happiness and distress is eligible for liberation. Sama dukkha sukham dhiram so amrutatvaya kalpati. Right? So that's the teaching that Krishna gives. And please understand, nobody can kill the soul. You may have a wind weapon that cannot wither the soul. You may have a water weapon that cannot moisten the soul. You may have a fire weapon that cannot burn the soul. So soul has no death. The essence of this whole section is body is never alive, soul is ever alive. Body is temporary and subjected to destruction, and soul is never perishable and it is never subjected to destruction, it is eternal. That's the essence of these 20 shlokas. So after that, Krishna gives another set of teachings on sakama karma. These are little materialistic. So Krishna says, Arjuna, you are a kshatriya. Your duty is to fight. And if you fight and die in the war, you will attain Svargaloka. You will enjoy there. And if you fight and you become victorious, then you will enjoy Hastinapur kingdom. Whether you die or live, whether you lose or gain, you're going to enjoy. So better do your duty. Sakama karma. By the way, these are not the highest teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Then Krishna talks about Nishkama Karma Yoga. You do your work because you're a Kshatriya, you're supposed to be fighting. Don't be attached to results, right? Just focus on the work, right? Do your duty, whether you become victorious or you become a failure. You are supposed to do your duty, do it with detachment. And he says that in this process of yoga, Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga, you have to be one-pointed in your attention. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakhayanantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. So those who are one-pointed in their determination, they will attain success in yoga. But those who are fickle-minded, their mind, their intelligence is diverted towards 100 different things. They cannot attain success in yoga. So you please focus on your goal, on your responsibility. So after this, Krishna describes about a person who could maintain that equanimity and focus on his goals. Such a person is called a man of steady intelligence. Sthita prajna. He is also called Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul. Sthita prajna means intelligence. Sthita means being fixed up in his intelligence. What is his nature? Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When we taste param drishtva nivartate, then we will give up our attachment to lower tastes, right? So Krishna teaches Arjuna here that don't be on a very lower platform of calculating things according to material body, material comforts, or material success, material failure. Think big, right? Have higher intelligence, deeper intelligence, and have developed higher taste to serve the Supreme Lord. Here, Krishna, although doesn't directly elaborately talk about Bhakti Yoga, he gives enough hints about Bhakti Yoga, right? You work with detachment and do the detached work as an offering to me. That also Krishna reveals here. So, and Krishna talks so many things, very elaborate chapter, second chapter, and it is also called Contents of Gita Summarized. Means you can expect a lot in the second chapter. However, what Krishna spoke in a summary form in the second chapter, he describes more elaborately in the later chapters, right? So we enter the third chapter called Karma Yoga. So in Karma Yoga, Krishna says, "Oh Lord, you told me in the second chapter, Durena Hyavaram Karma, you told me to stay away from abominable work. Now you're also asking me to engage in this work of war as a Kshatriya. So are you recommending renunciation for me or action for me? Should I fight or not fight? What exactly is your recommendation?" So actually Arjuna thought that fighting is abominable work. Yes, if you fight with others for your own sense gratification, it could be abominable work. But if you fight according to your duty as a Kshatriya, and that too if you're fighting to please the Lord, on behalf of the Lord, and as an offering to the Lord, and with a detached spirit, then that kind of fight is not abominable work. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita here, third chapter, he says, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Yagnarthat karmano. Oh Arjuna, or everyone is meant to perform their karma, their prescribed duties for the satisfaction of yajna. Yajna could mean a fire sacrifice. Yajna could also mean any bona fide activity that is performed to attain some result. And yajna also indicates the Lord. The Lord has so many names. One of the names is Yajna. He's Yajna Purusha. He's the object of all sacrifices. He's the person who is meant to be pleased with all our sacrifices, right? So yajnarthat karmano, perform your karmas, your prescribed activities for the pleasure of yajna, the Lord. Means for my pleasure. Anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If you don't perform your activities to please the Lord, those very activities will bind you. That will cause bondage. Anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangaha samachara. Please perform your activities to satisfy me. Satisfy me, basically, Krishna says. So this karma word, Krishna is speaking about karma yoga. Karma word has multiple meanings. Karma basically means action. Karma can also mean reaction to an action. Karma could also mean a prescribed action according to the scriptures, as per one's varna or ashram. Karma can also mean a fruitive action, means an action which is done with a fruitive mentality or a mentality to enjoy the result, that is fruitive action. Karma could also mean the whole chain of actions and reactions. Fine. So we need to understand which meaning is relevant in which context. So Krishna in the 3rd chapter speaks about Karma Yoga, 4th chapter Jnana Yoga, then 6th chapter Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, and from 7th chapter till 12th chapter Bhakti Yoga. Of course, Bhakti comes in practically every chapter. Bhakti is there throughout Bhagavad Gita, but in different sections of Bhagavad Gita it's emphasized more and elaborated with depth. So now what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is trying to connect with Krishna through your work, through your prescribed activities. Jnana Yoga is to try to connect with Krishna through your knowledge, your analytical abilities. Third, Dhyana Yoga is to try to connect with Krishna through meditation. Bhakti Yoga is connecting with Krishna through devotional service. These are the 4 yogas that Krishna speaks about. Now the 4th is Bhakti Yoga, which is devotional service unto the Lord, means connecting with Krishna, linking our consciousness with Krishna through love and service. And when you connect with Krishna through bhakti, you will automatically meditate on Krishna, Krishna's Nama Rupa Guna Leela. So Dhyana is involved in this bhakti. You will automatically have some knowledge about Krishna. So Jnana is also involved. You will work for Krishna, of course, you will serve Krishna. So karma is also involved. So Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate teaching of Bhagavad Gita that includes karma, jnana, dhyana. We have karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. But bhakti yoga is the final recommendation of Krishna that includes the previous 3 also. Prabhupada writes in a purport in the 6th chapter. He says that one may connect with Krishna through one's prescribed activities to please Krishna. He may act according to prescribed duty as an offering to the Lord. But here activity is more prominent than connection. Okay, but he's trying to connect. That is karma yoga. But when that acting for the Lord matures into a good understanding of the Lord, knowledge about the Lord, it comes to Jnana Yoga. When your knowledge about the Lord matures into meditation on the Lord, it becomes Dhyana Yoga. And when that meditation matures into love for the Lord, it becomes Bhakti Yoga. So there could be stages, right? This yoga ladder, they say, right? So that could be one step. That's the only purport that Prabhupada gives in the 6th chapter, somewhere in 46, 47 purport, right? He connects them as different stages. But it's not necessarily stages also. One can directly begin with Bhakti Yoga without having to pass through karma, jnana and dhyana. One can directly begin with Bhakti Yoga, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. Right? But Krishna is also giving multiple options here to connect people from wherever they are. So in the 3rd chapter, Krishna predominantly talks about Karma Yoga, where he says you perform your karma and try to connect with me. You perform your prescribed duties as an offering to me. Then it becomes Karma Yoga. And don't expect anything from your activities. It becomes Nishkama Karma Yoga. Actually, Karma Yoga is Nishkama Karma Yoga only. right? But to make it more emphatic, nishkama word is also added here. Nishkama karma yoga means you perform your prescribed activities with detachment, nishkama, without any expectation of your results, and as an offering to the Supreme. That is yoga. Yoga indicates offering to the Supreme. Nishkama indicates that you don't have any material expectations from your work. Karma is you're doing your activities dutifully, right? So this is what Krishna describes. And Krishna then speaks about the cycle of sacrifice here. So the Supreme Lord gives Vedas to all of us. And Vedas contain prescribed activities, karma, for different varnas. And according to prescribed activities, you have to perform sacrifice, yajna. And when you perform yajna, you get rains, raining clouds. And from rains, you get grains. And these grains are the source of sustenance for all living beings. And these living beings are supposed to offer these grains to the Lord before eating. So this is cycle of sacrifice. Ultimately, the food that is required by the human beings, for all living beings, is coming from the Supreme Lord ultimately. So you should offer it and then accept it. Otherwise, one is eating sin. This is another section in the 3rd chapter where Krishna talks about cycle of sacrifice. Then, now I spoke about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga. So, initial stages of Karma Yoga, people may do their prescribed activity, but they don't have great degree of detachment. But by continuing to practice Karma Yoga, one will mature in their knowledge and detachment. So when the detachment matures and knowledge matures, you need not perform your prescribed duties. You can take sannyas on the level of Dhyana Yoga. So a Karma Yogi may do his karma, prescribed activities, but someone who is on the platform of Dhyana Yoga, he can become a sannyasi. He can renounce the prescribed activity. Basically, prescribed activity is meant for purification of one's consciousness and development of spiritual knowledge, proper knowledge and detachment. Okay. But when someone who is already mature in his understanding, he is very knowledgeable, he need not perform prescribed activities of purification. For example, a student has to enter the chemistry lab and then understand, if I mix this with this, this will come. I'll mix this chemical with this chemical, so and so chemical will come. So he may have to do all that to understand what's happening. But when he matures and the student becomes a professor, okay, then they know what happens when, if I mix this with this something else, automatically this reaction is going to happen. They don't have to do this. So they don't have to do an experiment to attain knowledge. These people have to do their activities. Students have to do their activities to attain knowledge. Okay. So on the level of Jnana Yoga, one need not perform prescribed activities. So one can even take sannyas. So Arjuna might think that, oh, I can take sannyas. I can come to, I have knowledge. But Krishna says, even if you are detached, even if you are not attached to material enjoyment, even if you have so much renunciation, still you should perform Nishkama Karma Yoga and perform your prescribed activities to set the right example for common people to follow. Yadyadacharati sreshtas tattadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. Yadyadacharati sreshtaha. Whoever, whatever a great man performs, whatever the leader of the society performs, common people tend to follow. So they naturally follow. So we should follow the leader. So Arjuna, you are a leader. You are a great warrior. You are supposed to be exemplary. Perform your activities, prescribed activities properly. Then other people also will follow. If you neglect fighting, the other Kshatriyas also will neglect fighting. So you perform activities for the sake of training people. Okay. So there are many other points here. Then finally, Krishna speaks something close to Bhakti Yoga. So Nishkama Karma Yoga, when it is done with a pure intent to just please Krishna, it is as good as Bhakti Yoga. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvaraha. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. Mai sarvani means you perform all your karmas for my sake. Sannyasa, give up the reactions. Adhyatma chetasa, be absorbed in spiritual consciousness. Nirashir, don't have any expectations. Nirmama, don't have any possessiveness or false ego. Yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. So, perform your fight. So, you fight on my behalf. That's what Krishna says here. This is as good as Bhakti Yoga. So, then finally, in this Karma Yoga chapter, Krishna also describes the greatest obstacle in the path of bhakti, in the path of yoga, basically. That is lust. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapatma vidhi yena iha vairinam. So it is kama, means lust. See, kama is not necessarily desire to enjoy with the opposite gender on a sensual plane. Kama is any desire other than the desire to serve Krishna and please Krishna. Any desire that is unfavorable for one's advancement towards the lotus feet of Krishna can be called kama. So once that kama is not fulfilled, it could become krodha. So one should be staying away from this kama and one should try, endeavor so much. And this kama is there in one's senses, in one's intelligence, in one's mind. So we should curb that kama with one's with deliberate spiritual intelligence. Krishna says that, right? So after that, we'll enter the 4th chapter. In the 4th chapter, Krishna describes knowledge about himself. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrujamyaham. So whenever there is a decline in dharma and whenever there is an increase in adharma, Krishna personally comes in some form, in some incarnation to reverse the situation. Dharma should increase, adharma should decrease. When the opposite is happening, Krishna comes and reverses the situation. That's the nature of Krishna's appearance. Then paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya sadushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And the 3 purposes for Krishna's appearance are paritranaya sadhunam, to protect humble devotees, vinashaya chadushkrutam, to annihilate miscreants, dharma samsthapanarthaya, to establish dharma. Krishna appears. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti Arjuna. Krishna's janma and karma are divyam. All the activities and appearances of Krishna are divine, they are spiritual, they are not mundane, they are not ordinary materialistic activities. So one who understands the divinity of Krishna's appearance and activities, he can be liberated. He can go back to the spiritual world. He need not come back to this material world again. Right? Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti Arjuna. Right? One, after giving up one's material body, one need not take birth again in this world. Fine. Then Krishna also says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. The way you approach me, in a similar way, I will reciprocate with you. Then Krishna also talks how he is the creator of the 4 varnas. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah. So Krishna created 4 varnas: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. And one's varna is not decided according to one's birth, it is according to one's qualities and activities. Right? Guna karma vibhagashah. Guna, qualities, karma, activities. So one may be born in certain family, but that does not mean he belongs to certain varna. So birth in the family could give an opportunity. For example, somebody takes birth in a Brahmanical family. That does not mean by default he is a Brahmana. He has better opportunity to develop Brahmanical qualities and be qualified as a Brahmana. But if he becomes whimsical and he acts otherwise, he may not be called as Brahmana in the Vedic society. Right? On the other hand, one may be born in a non-Brahmana family, but if he cultivates Brahmanical qualities and if he engages himself in Brahmanical activities, he could be called as qualified Brahmana in the Vedic society. So that's one more thing in the 11th chapter. And finally, Krishna also speaks about karma, akarma, and vikarma, very elaborate description. How one can be doing inaction in action. Means when you do an action, there's a reaction. But the great art of doing work is to do action in such a way that you will not incur the reaction, material reaction for that action. Okay, that is Brahmarpanam Brahmahave Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Brahma Arpanam Brahma Havir. So, to keep it short, Brahma here is spiritual. If you engage yourself in spiritual activities as an offering to the supremely spiritual Lord, then you will attain the spiritual world. To keep it short. Okay. So basically, this is an emphasis on engaging oneself in spiritual activities, right? So then, how to attain transcendental knowledge? Krishna says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So how to attain spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge? One, you should approach a guru, and you should approach guru with submissiveness. Pranipata means offering namaskar, means offering obeisances. That requires some humility, submissiveness. So here Krishna says pranipatena means you approach a guru with submissiveness. Then pariprashnena, also ask relevant queries. And thirdly, sevaya, engage in service. So by sincerely approaching a guru and submissively asking your questions and also rendering service, one will be able to attain transcendental knowledge about matter and spirit, about the Supreme Lord Krishna. Upadekshanti te gnanam dhaninaha tattvadarshinaha. Because they are tattvadarshis, they have seen the truth, they are seers of the truth, they can give you gnana. They can do upadesha. Fine. So with this, Krishna concludes the 4th chapter. Then 5th chapter. In the 5th chapter also, Krishna asks a question similar to what he had asked in the 3rd chapter. We'll not go into the technical details, but important shloka in this chapter is Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriyaha Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvannapi na lipyate. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. So Yoga Yukta means one who is engaged in yoga. Such a person is Vishuddhatma. He has a pure mind. Vijitatma, he has conquered his mind. Jitendriya, he has also conquered his senses, Indriyas also. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, and he also is able to see the spiritual nature of all living beings. Kurvan napi na lipyate. Such a person, although he is doing kurvan, although he is engaged in so many activities, na lipyate, he is not entangled by his activities, because he is doing everything for the sake of Krishna. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena padmapatramivambhasa. Brahmanyadhaya karmani, all the activities done by a spiritual seeker are for the satisfaction of Brahman. Here Brahman refers to the supremely spiritual Lord. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva, he works to please Krishna. Sangam tyaktva, he also gives up attachment to the results of the work. Dhananjaya lipyate nasapena. By doing so, by working with detachment and devotion, one will not incur any sinful reactions. Lipyate nasapapena, one will not be bound by sinful reactions. Padmapatram ivambhasa, he gives an example. Just like lotus leaf, although it is in water, it will not become wet by water. So similarly, although a liberated soul is in the material world, engaged in so many activities here, because he works for the pleasure of the Lord, he will not be entangled by his work. Okay. So Krishna speaks about karma sannyasa here. So karma sannyasa, karma means action, sannyasa means renunciation. By karma sannyasa, Krishna did not want to say you do sannyasa of karma. You have sannyasa in karma. Okay. It's not about renunciation of work that Krishna is recommending. Krishna is recommending renunciation in work. It's not the order of renunciation that Krishna is emphasizing. It's the spirit of renunciation that Krishna is emphasizing. One may be in a family living with all kinds of facilities. Still, one is as good as a sannyasi if he works for the Supreme with detachment. If there is work with detachment and work with devotion, then there is no entanglement, right? And such a person is as good as a sannyasi. So sannyasa is not just order of renunciation. What is more important is spirit of renunciation, right? One should have that spirit of renunciation. So just working with detachment is not sufficient. That's why spirit of renunciation is there. That spirit of renunciation has to be accompanied with spirit of devotion. When you have devotion and detachment, then that is complete. It becomes bhakti. When you work with detachment, it's karma yoga. But when you work with the detachment and devotion, it becomes bhakti yoga. And that's the ultimate teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Work with the devotion. Ultimately, Arjuna said, I will fight, not because he's convinced that I'm a Kshatriya. Earlier he has forgotten that he was a Kshatriya. Now Krishna reminded him, you are a Kshatriya, you should fight. Arjuna said, oh, I'm Kshatriya, I will fight. Not like that. So Arjuna agreed to fight in the Kurukshetra war more for a devotional reason than his being Kshatriya, right? He was a devotee of Krishna, and if he fights, that fight becomes a part of his devotional service to Krishna. And you see, what is Krishna's agenda here in his incarnation? Paritranaya sadhuna, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya. Three things. By engaging Arjuna in fighting this war, Krishna is accomplishing these three things. Krishna is making Arjuna as an instrument to do dharma samsthapana, to do paritranaya sadhana, to do vinashaya cha dushkritam. Right? These three things Krishna is accomplishing by engaging Arjuna in the war. And Arjuna agreed to be an instrument in Krishna's plan with a devotion. He did not just agree that, oh, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm supposed to fight. That's a very external reason, superficial and external, mundane, conventional reason. The deeper reason is that Krishna completely captivated Arjuna's heart with love and affection. And Arjuna also developed that love for Krishna. And he said, he lovingly surrendered to Krishna and agreed to do what Krishna wants him to do. Right? That's the ultimate teaching of Bhagavad Gita. So then Krishna speaks about intelligent person. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini sunichaiva swapakecha panditaha samadarshinaha. So one who has vidya means knowledge, and vinaya, humility. So just having vidya is not sufficient. We should also have vinaya, means humility also. Such a person can see a brahmana, a cow, an elephant, dog, and a dog eater, all on an equal plane. Not that literally they are equal, but there is the Supreme Lord within everyone's heart. Everybody is a fragmental part of Krishna, Amsha of Krishna. In that sense, on a spiritual plane, they are all equal. Okay. Then finally, Krishna concludes this chapter with this shloka. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gnatva mam shanti mruchati. Krishna is the bhokta of all our yajna and tapasa. Means he is the supreme enjoyer. Then sarvaloka maheshwaram is the supreme proprietor of all planets. Suhridam sarvabhutanam is the supreme well-wisher of all living beings. One who understands Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and supreme well-wisher attains peace, attains a sense of security. Such a person can completely depend on the Lord for one's own welfare, and Krishna takes care of all the needs of such a devotee. Right? He attains all protection from the Lord. So that's 5th chapter. Finally, 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. In this Dhyana Yoga, Krishna describes 8 limbs. So Dhyana Yoga is also called Ashtanga Yoga. Dhyana Yoga basically is yoga of meditation. It is called Ashtanga Yoga because in this yoga of meditation, there are 8 kinds of practices. to attain 8 kinds of perfection. Ashtanga, Ashtasiddhi. Okay. So 8 kinds of practices are Yama, Niyama, first 2 means do's and don'ts, prescriptions and prohibitions, rules and regulations, Yama, Niyama. Next is Asana, means sitting postures, bodily exercises. Next, Pranayama, breathing exercises, Pura, Karechaka, Kumbhaka, right? Inhaling, exhaling, holding, all that. That is Pranayama. Then Pratyahara, withdrawing the mind and senses and focusing on the yoga there. These 5 are the preparatory limbs in Ashtanga Yoga. Basically, it is yoga of meditation. Meditation is the key there. But for us to come to the stage of that meditation, these 5 preparatory limbs are required. So the 6th limb is Dharana, means meditating on the form of the Lord. Meditating on the overall form of the Lord. That is Dharana. Dhyana means meditating on the individual limbs of the Lord. Means more intensified meditation. Samadhi means deep meditation where you completely enter trance. These are the 8 types of practices in Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. But Arjuna says that it's very difficult to perform this. Krishna says that controlling the mind and focusing on the form of the Lord is the main key in this Dhyana Yoga. So, Udhared Atman Atmanam Natmanam Avasade Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhur Atmaiva Hi Ripur Atmanaha. So, you should try to elevate yourself with your mind, not entangle yourself. So, engage your mind, control your mind, and focus on yoga. A controlled mind is like one's friend, and uncontrolled mind is one's enemy. So, have mind control, Krishna says. So, that is about mind. And Arjuna says that it's very difficult to control this mind. And Krishna also describes that yato yato nischalati manasyanchalam asthiram. Whenever the mind wanders here and there, you should bring the mind back and focus on yoga. Right? Tatastato nimyaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. When you become lenient with the mind and allow the mind to go here and there, mind will not become lenient with you. Mind will not become mild. Mind will not allow you to come back and focus on yoga. So Arjuna says, my God, this is too much. I cannot do this kind of yoga. Why? He says, Chanchalam himanaha Krishna pramathi balabadrudham tasyaham nigraham manye vayo rivasudushkaram. Oh Krishna, it is extremely difficult for me to control the mind. Pramathi balabadrudham. It's very obstinate, it's very strong. It's very difficult to control the mind, my dear Krishna. I can control wind, I cannot control mind. But Krishna says, yes, I understand that. I agree with that. Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So he says, asamshayam, undoubtedly it's extremely difficult to control the mind. I acknowledge this point, Arjuna. But by abhyasa and by vairagya, you will be able to control the mind. Eventually, gradually, may not happen overnight. Abhyasa means practice. Whenever the mind is getting distracted, try to bring the mind. Practice. Keep practicing. Keep practicing. So by controlling the mind, by attempting to control the mind, one day it will come under control. That is abhyasa. Along with that, vairagya is also there. Vairagya means develop detachment. So mind meditates on something which is not favorable for our advancement in bhakti or for our engagement in yoga. So try to develop detachment from that. For example, somebody is given a very strict diet by the doctor. Doctor says, no fried items for you. It's not good for your health. For next 1 month, you should not eat any fried item. So that's instruction. So the patient comes home and he sees something fried there. So he should develop detachment, vairagya. Okay. And he should also do abhyasa, practice of not eating that. Practice of controlling the mind. Mind is saying, let me eat that, let me eat that. But try to withdraw the mind. Try to pull it down. So first day you may just give in. You may just go and eat. Oh, I should not do this. I should not do this. So next day you try to control, or you try not to look in the direction where that fried item is there. Okay. So somehow or other you practice the detachment, and you practice and then develop detachment from that. So eventually we will be able to do it. So initial stages of the medication, say Ayurveda medication, one may find it very austere to control. But after practicing for a while, you naturally, even if somebody is eating fried items in front of you, you don't feel like eating that because you know it's not good for you. So gradually one will develop the detachment, vairagya, and gradually one should withdraw one's mind. One should practice to withdraw one's mind. That is abhyasa. So by this you will be able to do it. And of all the yogis, who is the best yogi? He says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the yogis, madgatena antaratmana, one who constantly meditates upon me with love and devotion, he is the best yogi. Right? Shraddhavan bhajate yomam, with great shraddha, with great faith, he will worship me, and I consider that person as the topmost yogi. So by the end of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna established Bhakti Yoga as the supreme, as the greatest yoga. So these 6 chapters, especially from chapter 2 to chapter 6, are very technical in nature. So it's very difficult to understand, or it takes some effort to understand what is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, what is Nishkama Karma Yoga, what is Ashtanga Yoga. So it's a bit deep chapters. So, but once you come to Bhakti Yoga, from 7th chapter onwards, Bhagavad Gita will become very easy. 7 to 12 are very easy. 9th is even more confidential. That's much easier to understand and even to follow also, right? So there's the middle chapters are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So in this 1 hour, we discussed a very short, super quick, fast-paced summary of the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So I hope the devotees here have gone through these 6 chapters in great detail, and now this is meant to be a summary. Otherwise, it's very difficult to relate with this 1 hour if you don't have the background of going through this. But I tried my best to keep it simple. I hope this is of some little use. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
7:15.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This was really wonderful. We are very, very grateful to you. And we used your Bhagavad Subodhana and Gita Subodhani also during our discussion. It was very good reference. So thank you so much for this wonderful summary and sharing the important verses from these 6 chapters. I know Prabhuji has a class in just a few minutes after this. So Prabhuji, should we wrap up or
Maybe one question I can take, but I need time. 7:30 I have another class. That's an easier class. I'll speak on Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga there, how to become dear to Krishna. But it's 7:30, it's 7:16 now. I can take one question max if someone has.
would someone like to ask a question? You can raise your hand or unmute. If someone is really eager to ask a question and take the maximum of this opportunity. Anyone wants to take this chance?
We can wind up, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I'll ask a question on behalf for my own purification. See, reading, hearing is not that difficult. But following is certainly, these principles, tolerance, and not be attached, and all the Nishkam Karma Yoga. Reading and hearing is very simple. Of course, not that simple, but relatively. But what will be your some few key tips so that we can not just read or hear or understand this, but try to internalize and follow these teachings of Bhagavad Gita? So it will be a few things you would say so I can follow this, not just read and hear.
Yes, Prabhu. Always application is a little difficult. but at least reading and understanding is definitely beneficial. But application becomes very easy when we are in the midst of some people who are also trying to apply the same teachings. Thus, bhakti is best practice in the association of devotees. So, when we see a person who is able to apply this teaching, say tolerance, humility, satisfaction, pridelessness, gratitude, patience, so all these qualities somebody is exhibiting, at least better than me. So, in the association of such a person, I can develop these qualities, I can cultivate these qualities. Somebody is more detached than me. I have many attachments and someone else has more detachment. I go and associate with that person. I get that little degree of detachment within me also. So the easiest way to cultivate these qualities is to associate with those devotees who have these qualities, or at least who are endeavoring to cultivate these qualities. Okay, when we do it together, it becomes easier. When we do it with people who are already expert in that field, it becomes much easier. It's as simple as that. So I need to go from here to say Hyderabad. So I don't know the way. I don't know which train to take, which bus to take, and if I have to walk, I don't know whether I have to take left turn or right turn or straight. I don't know. But if someone who knows the way properly, he will take me to the destination. So when I'm accompanying someone or someone is accompanying me to guide me on my path, it becomes very, very easy. So that's my humble attempt to answer your question. I'm also struggling to apply. So with your prayers and blessings, I hope I will also be able to apply.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful answer. And please pray for us and bless us so we can also try to apply the wonderful message of Bhagavad Gita in our lives. So we are very, very grateful to you, and I request all the devotees to please express our deep gratitude to His Grace, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, for this wonderful association and for this wonderful nectar stream of Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters. So we'll chant 3 times loudly for His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Haribo!
Haribo.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I had to go back and hear this again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.